You're watching CN2 News. Two Chester County principals wanted to make a difference during the pandemic. They started Create and Educate LLC to help educators and parents during some tough times. They're focusing on literacy and leadership. CN2's R.E.A.L.L Jackson has more on how they're helping the community.
Create and Educate, we are a consulting firm that works with educators as well as entrepreneurs. So with the side where we're working with educators, we offer professional development on literacy as well as implicit bias. We work with leaders and leadership teams to help improve schools.
They've been surviving pandemic education by offering tips for school leaders, teachers, and parents.
We really want to see kids through the trajectory, graduating from high school, ready to go to college, or to start a career, or to go into the military.
Create and Educate has multiple community partners in the area that read books to children weekly, discuss literature, and express their support for the education system. Recently, the owners were featured for Amazon's #1 best-selling book entitled Women Who Lead in Education.
And so we are super, super excited because we're amongst a family of women leaders who are absolutely extraordinary. So it's an honor to have been asked to participate. And then even more of an honor now that the book has gone on sale and it became a #1 bestseller. So you don't have to be a school leader to have leadership qualities.
Collectively, both Tammy Taylor, principal of Great Falls Elementary, and Dr. Sheka Houston, principal of Chester Middle School, have 40 years of service in education. They have learned the need in their community, and they plan to
serve all children in all communities. And one of the things that we enlighten people about in our professional development with literacy is that sometimes it's hard for children to connect to text because they don't see themselves in text. Providing that culturally relevant literature for students, and that's not just African American students, that's all students. Every student at every school should be able to see themselves in a book, in a text, to be able to connect with it.
Surviving pandemic education together in Chester, R.E.A.L.L Jackson, CN2 News.
Again, their goal is to help connect educators, parents, community members, and authors each week to help better navigate the pandemic.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tammy.
Hey, Sheka. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Jocelyn. Thank you all for joining us in the R.E.A.L.L Academy. I'm Dr. Sheka Houston, and Principal Tammy Taylor is here with us as well. We are on each Saturday at 10:30, bringing you information that we think would be helpful, and we needed help as leaders, so we're trying to pay that forward. I'm going to shout everyone out. Good morning, Mr. Davis and Jasmine. Good morning. Dr. Gaskin, good morning. Sinitra, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, guys.
For joining us, Principal Kafele, good morning.
Good morning. Godfather, that's who he is. Godfather of education.
We enjoyed his session with Dr. Mabry this week as well. It was really, really good. Good morning, Ms. Witherspoon, and you've been busy this week, as I've seen you on Facebook advocating in our community. So thank you for what you do. Good morning, Ms. Jones. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Good morning again, everyone. We definitely want to make sure that, you know, as educators, as parents, we see you, we see what you're doing, and we hope that you see the greatness in yourself, because these times that we're going through right now in education are not some of the easiest times, but we want everybody to maintain their hope, is what we talked about last week, and their optimism, so that can transcend to the educators that are in our buildings as well as to our children, because these are times that we can be resilient through, and that we hope, you know, we're able to definitely be resilient through. We are going to be discussing another chapter from the book where we have our partnership with R.E.A.L Inc. from the Harvard Medical School, Pair Inc., and they'll be with us on Tuesday during the collaborative at 7 p.m. Danielle is going to be a guest with us on our collaborative show. So this week we're relating optimism to the chapter about educators, and we're talking about teacher recruitment and retention. Good morning, Ms. Crawford. Good morning, Dr. Larry.
Good morning. And thank you for joining us so early from Phoenix.
Yes, it is really, it's that time of the year for, recruiting teachers and trying to retain the teachers that, are already with you. And hopefully, we're not starting as the leaders without anything being in the tank for our teachers. Hopefully we have been putting some things in the tank with the teachers along the way, letting them know how appreciative you are of everything that they do. Sometimes it's the little things, the little notes, just recognition for some things that may be outside of the capacity, because we know that teachers do so many things just like leaders. And we hope our district people are recognizing and showing that appreciation to the leaders as well, because everyone needs that. But we are going to talk about some things. One thing is definitely just making sure that recognition of acknowledging the struggle of this year and knowing how hard things have been and how difficult they are, and not just what we talked about last week, having that toxic positivity, like, oh, we just need to, move on and carry on. We know that it's hard. We really have to stop and acknowledge, yes, people are going through things. So let me assess here what might be needed in order for a teacher or an educator to get through this. Did you want to add anything to that, Tammy?
Yeah, I do think, and I thought you were going to talk a little bit more about that whole exhaustion that teachers feel, and how, as the leaders, sometimes, it's up to us to make sure that we give them that relief that they need so that they can refuel and regenerate, so that they do have something to give to the kids. Because the one thing that I've seen that really resonates, and we talk a lot about SEL, and I saw that, I think Jasmine said that we have to do regular check-ins with our people, just so that we can make sure that we are really spending some time getting a pulse on exactly how things are going and how people are doing, so that we can respond to those needs, whatever they are. Like it could be just a moment for them to get some relief. I just need a second to take a step out of this classroom just for a minute. I need some time to regroup mentally. But if we don't pay attention to that, then it creates that stress level that gives them anxiety. And so not only are they stressed inside and not feeling good within themselves, they're not good for the kids, because when you're at that level of, or that breaking point, you really do have to be cognizant and acknowledge that happens, and it's okay. We're okay with you needing that minute.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Being there also without judgment. Sometimes someone can be there and, have something snide to say or a certain look about it. And then it's not, showing the true appreciation at that point. But even to your point, Tammy, as we've talked this week, you've even needed a moment. So, our district level people have to make sure that we're not being the toxic, just mouthy helpfulness, but real help, saying, hey, I'm coming down today. Because most of the time when you call leaders, they're not going to say that they need help, because that sometimes is looked at as frowned upon, and you don't want to look like you can't handle things. So sometimes just showing up, just being there without saying, hey, do you need anything? Because we know that things are needed at the building level, and usually what's needed is extra hands and extra bodies. So just showing up, being a true support, true help, and without that judgment. Like
I think that, to your point, Sheka, because I think it's a good space for us to just press pause and kind of talk about that. Because from a leader's perspective, you're right. Like, this was a very taxing week for me because we had a really hard hit coming back off of Christmas break with COVID cases, both in the student population as well as with staff. And so we've had excessive absences and trying to juggle and figure out how we were going to provide coverage. We had an in-house PD yesterday, and we were trying to figure out how to get everything covered so that we could do the things, because even though I think you're right, we can't just say, just get over it. You know, this is business as usual. We can't say that, because it isn't business as usual. But at the same time, we still have to operate within the auspices of what's expected from us. And yesterday was just one of those days. Like, I got a smile from a teacher here or there, a compliment from a parent. But yesterday I had given every single thing I had. Like, I didn't have enough deposits for the withdrawals that I had given out. So I left exhausted last night. I had to disconnect and come home to get some deposits from another avenue of just let me be able to regroup, refuel, so that I'm ready to get back in there on Monday. But I will say this, because, and we've said this many times before, I can say yesterday I was supposed to have been off. I told you that, but it was so much going on. I went on in, but I can say that our superintendent is very supportive and asked that if you need somebody to come down and help with coverage, please let us know. I don't mind getting somebody down there so we can support what you guys have going on in the building. So that is very, very important. And having that level of support does help with making sure that I can be there to support my teachers.
And thank you for sharing that, Tammy, because that's, that's real. That's really being transparent. And everyone is going through things right now. Teachers, leaders, and we all have to be there for one another. I'm highlighting what Ms. Crawford stated, that she has people letting her know that they're leaving the field this year, and that's very real. They feel guilty about the decision, and they're looking for her as the leader, I'm assuming, to tell them that it's okay. And this is very real too. You don't want to make people feel like their decision is something that, you got to make them feel bad about or make them feel guilty about, because a lot of times when teachers are at your school, it's the leader, the leader who they have bought into, or that vision, and they do feel guilty about leaving the school and the children that they've connected to, and the educators there that they've built relationships with. So I can imagine that is a very hard decision, and I think that it's great that she brought that up, because as leaders, it's important that we don't make them feel guilty about their decisions, because teachers have gone through a lot this year. And if your decision is that, maybe for me to be able to balance everything in my life that could include their children and, different spouses, work from home situations, they've got to do what's best for their mental health. And, we'll have to try to get more creative about recruiting and retaining people. So, I think that was a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely. And the other part, I think that we as leaders can really emphasize when we're thinking about supporting teachers, regardless of what their decisions are, or providing them that space to vent. Like, if this is a day where you just really need to express yourself, being open and available. I saw, I think Dr. Ross said, going in and just relieving them for just a few minutes, or going in and pulling out a couple kids because they're at that place where they need space and time away. Both parties need some time away from each other. So just making sure that that acknowledgement is real and that it's sincere and genuine, that the struggle is real, and there's a range of stress and exhaustion levels within the school building, with the staff as well as with the students and with our leaders.
That's absolutely correct. And I know I'm getting off track, Tammy, but everybody's bringing up such good points, because a lot of times, and what R.E.A.L.L has mentioned is that checking in on teachers and staff in the virtual school is also very important, because sometimes people have the misconception that, oh, well, they working at home, they all right, they got it good. But those are people that are actually stressed out as well, because it's harder to teach virtually, as we have all learned, than it is for the children to be in person. So make sure that you are also checking in on your virtual teachers, because another thing that's difficult in that space is the balance, because you're at home. So you're constantly, doing things possibly that have things to do with school, instead of having that separation where you're cutting it off.
Yes.
And Jasmine has brought up a good point about our teachers that are retiring. Sometimes you might have to have conversations. You may be tempted to have conversations about trying to convince them to stay, because so many vacancies are coming about, and you probably really do need them. So if you agree to stay, great. But if they don't, they also don't need to be made to feel guilty about their decision, especially in the times that we're in right now. The other point that we were making from this chapter, from the 10 Big Bets on educators, is just making sure that we're rethinking professional development. I'm at the district level now, so I recognize that sometimes from our lens, things are just like, people are just going on like, sometimes that we're not in a pandemic. And you really have to rethink, okay, are the teachers going to be able to handle this professional development right now? Is this going to be overwhelming to people? Do we need to do this right now? Some things have to be put on hold for when people can handle another new thing, or even more information about something that we're already working on. Because when your biggest thing for today is just making sure you have coverage, that's a very real thing when you have your principals and your assistant principals in classrooms every day, because we can't find substitutes or enough substitutes to cover all of the vacancies that you're experiencing every day. So making sure that, we're being realistic about not putting too much on people is a very real thing to make sure that we're doing.
I think too, Sheka, I think we talked about this before, just offline, but one of the things that has happened that I think has been game changing for us as a school, we've really shifted to trying to get as much PD done during the day as we can, so that teachers don't have to stay after school, because at this point, many of them are really spent by the end of the day. So we've done some creative things with, just like yesterday, trying to provide that space for a couple hours of release time within the day, so that grade level team gets to have this PD opportunity, but they don't have to stay for 2 hours after school to get it. And another thing, and I'll say this again, this is a shout out to our superintendent. He had one of his meetings with us was concerning PD and what we were doing after school. He said, I want you guys to understand, if you don't have a PD plan, don't just make teachers stay and meet with them just for the sake of meeting, because it's shutting people down. So we have to be mindful and respectful of the fact that we have to be serious and take people's mental health very seriously. And one of the things that the book says is that we need to do mental health temperature checks. We need to
Mhm.
check the emotional temperature of the staff. And I saw somebody make a comment about those check-ins. I think Jasmine said are absolutely crucial so that you
Mhm.
know exactly how everybody's doing. Hey, Josh, I apologize. I texted you to the wrong number, so I'm going to send you a text to the right number.
Yes, and she said, I texted Josh. He didn't text back. I said, that's not like Josh. You texted the wrong number. So we checked it and it was wrong, Josh. But yeah, for some people working at home is not ideal. And then sometimes for some people it works. And so we're glad that there's that balance, because that gives us that room to offer choice, because some parents are not comfortable yet. Some students are not comfortable. So we definitely do need both spaces right now for where we are in education and with the pandemic. But the last point I wanted to bring up, and thank you for bringing that up too, about Dr. Sutton, Tammy, because another thing he's charged us to do is to look at next year's calendar to build in some more days for, early release type days. And so that's helpful as well. Just having that forward thinking on, what your teachers and your educators can take in a day, and make sure that we're valuing everyone's time, and that it's not just something added to do, but something that's actually needed.
Right.
And the state is also taking a look at standards, and I'm hoping that this is something that happens across several states and across the board, that we're really looking at. I saw a comparison chart that looked at what second grade standards looks like now compared to what they used to look like years ago. And it's just so many things. Do we need to rethink a lot of these things? Because we're talking about learning loss and children being behind, but some of it really is the curriculum needs to be redesigned.
It needs to be thought about very carefully. And a great example of that is when we were talking this week about Lizzie's division and how you decided, no, this isn't how division is going to work. This isn't how you divide. These are
Right.
too many extra steps. This is what you do, Lizzie. So it is that reality of what parents are even facing when they're trying to support their children at home.
Right. And I'm an educator and could not recognize the Mandarin that was sent home with my child about division, and just could not wrap my mind around it. Now she could, she understood it, but I was just like, wow, why are we doing all of these steps to I'm gonna just show you the right way to divide, and just tell your teacher that I showed you this is the right way to divide. So if they got a problem, just tell them to email me, because I just can't do this. But it's a lot, and we really need to rethink, is this the best way? And I do understand that you need different strategies for children who may not understand something, but I think those are good for if they don't understand, and not necessarily to confuse them up front. So
you saw Mr. Ham talked about Kim's refuel Wednesdays, which I love. I think it's just absolutely brilliant. And I can say this, Kim Odom is the best at making sure that her staff they feel appreciated and is in a space where they can. She will not have that Wednesday leaving early as anything that makes them feel like they're going to be judged because they don't stay. They get out of there at 2:59.
Exactly.
I love the way that Kim has implemented that and other things at her school. She's absolutely phenomenal.
Definitely. And she has spoke very highly of Mr. Ham as well. And good morning, Principal Presley. And thank you for your comment too about the PD in this season and professional development discussions. These are all things that, we need to share ideas and make sure that we're showing that appreciation and really thinking about what we are putting on everyone at this point in education. So thank you all for joining us. This is our time. We will be on Tuesday. It's the first Tuesday of the month, next Tuesday at 7 p.m. for the collaborative. We will have a special guest with us from the Pair Inc., Danielle, who's going to talk about our partnership that we have with them for the professional development offered around 10 big bets and mindfulness and helping children to be able to connect to schools. So we will be talking more in depth about that. If you would like a copy of this book, it's free. Dr. Gil Nome, who is an associate professor for Harvard Medical School, wrote a grant and has partnered with us to be able to give the book out for educational leaders for free. We've mailed out several books already. You all should be getting those, the ones who replied or went to the website, and we will also be sending you the free discussion guides that goes along with those.
Yes,
if you need,
please do check it out, guys, because the information is centered around the pandemic, but it is really, really a good book. And if you haven't already got your copy, please reach out so that you can have that, because it is another tool. And as Sheka said, join us on Tuesday, because you'll be able to hear what other offerings Danielle will share with us that Pair provides that might be something that is a match for your school.
Definitely. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you all for joining us. If you also are needing help with accountability, Josh and I have our 10,000 step club going as well, because that's another thing that helps with stress. Exercise as well as eating correctly. So I can help you if you're a lady, and Mr. Josh Tovar, if you're a gentleman, because I don't know anything about helping men lose weight. He is willing to help you. And I'm willing to help our ladies out there who might need some help. So please go to our website if you would like a copy, the free copy of 10 Big Bets, and we will fill out our form on the website, www.createandeducate.solutions.
And that helps us to know where to send it. So if you guys would go and complete the form, we can get it to you. And we got to get out of here, guys, because it's time for Kafele.
We're way over. Please join us on Principal Kafele's page. If you go to his virtual AP Academy or his regular page, that's where we're headed next for all the great wisdom he has to offer us. So thank you guys, and have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.